Thanks for tuning in to this special edition of the poetry video series here. I want to talk about the portfolio today. Okay, the portfolio is due next week. All right, due at the end of next week, Friday, August 8th, by 11:59 p.m. Last day of class. Okay, it constitutes 40% of your final grade, which means it constitutes just under. Constitutes 40% of your final grade for me for my half of the class, which means it's just about under a quarter of your grade for the entirety of English 205, right? So it's a substantial portion of your grade, but it also represents the culmination of your poetry efforts here, right? So I hope you take the time to think through your revisions, think through these other components here, and put something together that you're proud of and that you'll be able to look back on, in a couple years and say, yeah, I remember that summer I learned to write poems. It was pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to go through each of the components here, but all of this information is on Blackboard. Okay, in the rubrics and guidelines folder, either in the final portfolio guidelines document, or in the separate assignment sheets for the reflective essay and the two responses here, okay, which we'll talk about in a second. So all this information is up on Blackboard, but I wanted to talk through them in a video here, just because I think that it might help you kind of conceptualize what I'm looking for the final document. Okay. So what is your portfolio going to contain? Well, first and foremost, your poems. Okay. By the time you submit the portfolio to me, you will have previously submitted 4 poems throughout the course, right? You've already done 2. You're going to submit your 3rd on Friday, right? And then next week you're going to submit another one midway through the week, okay? So you're going to take these 4 poems and you're going to revise them, all right? You're going to take into account the comments you've received from myself and from your peers. All right, and then you're going to sort of apply the knowledge that you've accrued thus far in the course. Okay, everything from a line break and concrete image to music to form to the movement of the poem to the diction. All these things are going to kind of be present in your mind as you sit down to revise these poems and kind of try and turn them into their best versions of themselves. All right, we're going to talk a lot more about revision next week. Okay, but begin right now. Okay, begin right now looking at the first 2 poems. If you haven't already received your second poem back from me, you will very shortly, I promise. I'm sorry it's taken me a while to get to this second batch here, but you will receive it shortly. Begin working on these 2 poems, okay? Begin revising, begin taking into account my comments and those of my peers, and sort of figuring out where you want the second draft to go, okay? So 4 revised poems, all right? Substantial revisions, not just changing a comma or, changing the title, but really getting in there and changing the poems, unless, of course, I've commented on your poem that, hey, this is perfect, don't change a thing, just include it in your portfolio. Okay. Secondly, you're going to include a reflective essay, all right? This is 2 pages, double-spaced, all right? And it's going to address your revisions, okay? It's going to talk a little bit about your overall experience in the course generally, okay? What you think the strengths and the weaknesses of your poems are, what was easy for you, what was hard for you. Maybe do you struggle with a particular temperament, one of Orr's 4 temperaments? You could talk about that. You could just talk about the experience of reading and writing and how that was new for you, or this might be a nice opportunity to sort of introduce your definition for poetry. Remember, we talked about definitions at the beginning of our time here. Maybe you want to present your own definition, right? It's sort of an introduction, as I say in the portfolio guidelines, an introduction to your 4 revised poems. Okay, hey, this is what I produced. This is how they got made. All right. See the reflective essay assignment sheet for more details. Okay, but by and large, I'm just looking for a sign of discussion of your time here. All right. Then you have the online journal response. Okay, this is 1 page, double-spaced, all right, so not 2 pages like the reflective essay, just 1. And for this, you're going to have the opportunity to look at an online literary journal, okay, and you're going to pick a poem from one of these journals, right, and you're going to talk about that poem for a page, okay, just as you've been doing in like those Friday free response things where you just pick one poem and kind of explore it. You're doing the same thing in this one-page double-space essay here, this response, okay? On the online journal response assignment sheet, which you'll find on Blackboard with all this other stuff, there's a list of literary journals, okay, that you can pick from. If you want to do a different literary journal that you know of, or that you've found, just check it by me with email, right? Okay, just shoot me an email, say, hey, I found this blah 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 review. Can I pick a poem from here? And that'll be fine. The reason behind this is that, well, I hope that eventually you begin publishing your poems, if you want to do so, in literary journals, right? And online literary journals are a great venue for publishing, particularly for first time publishing, right? So I want you to get a taste of what other people are writing out there and what a literary journal looks like, and hopefully get you hooked on one or two, and so you'll start reading it at your leisure, okay? Then, finally, you're going to complete a poetry reading response, all right? Similarly, you're going to look at the poetry reading response assignment sheet on Blackboard, and you're going to find one YouTube poetry reading, okay? I want you to watch a poet read through a substantial selection from their work, okay? This is sort of the electronic version of what I typically do in 205 classes during the school year, which is make students go to poetry readings on campus. We'll bring in a lot of visiting writers to Purdue and sort of force the students to go and sit there and ask questions and be engaged in the reading, okay? So I can't do that this summer, but what I can do is make you sit in front of your computer and watch a poet read for a little bit, okay? So you're going to watch one of these poetry readings from one of them from the pre-approved list, right? And then write a response to it. If there's another reading that you know of, again, send me an email just so I can double check it and make sure it qualifies, whatever. And then you could do that as well. Okay? This is one page double space. Okay? So by way of review here, 4 revised poems. Okay? A reflective essay, 2 pages, double spaced. An introduction to your poems, a discussion of the course generally, and then the online journal response, right, where you pick one poem from an online literary journal and talk about it for a page, one page, double spaced, and then a poetry reading response, where you watch a poetry reading online and then write one page, double spaced, in response to it. Okay? Pretty straightforward, I think. Again, you're going to want to read the assignment sheets that are on Blackboard. There are additional documents that talk a little bit more about the reflective essay, about the online journal response, and about the poetry reading response. Okay, so be sure to read those. And then, if you have additional questions, please send me an email. All right? I would like all of this stuff in one Word document, okay, submitted to Blackboard by 11:59 on the last day of class, Friday, August 8th. Okay? Pretty straightforward. If for some reason you can't submit a Word document, you don't have Word or whatever, PDF will work, you know. If you don't have that either, send me an email and we can find out some, we'll determine some format between us to that you can use, maybe Google Docs or something like that. But unless you talk to me beforehand, I'll expect a Word doc or a PDF of all these things in one document attached to Blackboard by the end of the day on Friday, August 8th, okay? So you have a week and a half now. You got to kind of start working on this, right? I mean, we still have classwork to do. Obviously, I'm going to be wanting you to work on stuff, complete assignments and exercises every day and keep up with the readings, etc. And of course, you have a poem to submit this Friday and then another one to submit next week, a sonnet. But in your spare time now, begin revising the first 2 poems, right? Begin planning that reflective essay, begin drafting that reflective essay, and then pick browse some literary journals online, some of the ones that I include on the assignment sheet, and take a look at some poetry readings, you know. You don't want to say this until, you know, Thursday or, God forbid, on Friday itself. You know, you don't want to do that. This is something that sort of requires consideration, all right? Particularly the revisions, you know. Revisions, you want to be working on them, you know, a little bit every day is what I would say. You know, have your stack of poems and kind of just go through and tweak them every day a little bit, okay? Of course, you may have only written 2 of those poems so far, and only received 1 of them back from me thus far, but you can begin on that 1 poem. Again, you will receive comments on your second poem by me very soon if you have not already, and please email me with any additional questions you have, guys, okay? Again, I think I mentioned this in an email, but I was really impressed by the second poems. The difference between the first and second poems. I mean, the first poems were good, but these are real poems, you know. So you should feel good about that. Well, that's all I've got for you right now. Okay, send me an email if you have any questions. Okay, thanks, guys.